In a firm and unequivocal national address, Jamaica's Prime Minister has officially responded to the latest visa threats from the Trump administration, delivering a message not of pleading, but of national sovereignty and resilience. The Prime Minister's response to the recent diplomatic crisis was not only swift, but also deeply strategic, reflecting the gravity of the situation and the need to protect Jamaica's national interests on the global stage. In the face of mounting international pressure, in a rapidly evolving political landscape, the Prime Minister and her cabinet convened an emergency session at the historic Devon House, where the air was thick with anticipation and the weight of responsibility. After hours of intense deliberation, the government emerged with a comprehensive plan, built on three critical pillars that would define Jamaica's stance and set the tone for future negotiations. These pillars were carefully crafted to address the immediate challenges, assert Jamaica's sovereignty, and send a clear message to both domestic and international audiences that the nation would not be cowed by external threats or coercion. The first pillar was a bold and unequivocal declaration: Jamaica will not negotiate its dignity under the threat of punitive immigration measures. Standing before a sea of reporters and flashing cameras, the Prime Minister's voice rang out with conviction, echoing the sentiments of millions of Jamaicans both at home and abroad. She emphasized that the nation's dignity, hard-won through centuries of struggle and perseverance, was not a bargaining chip to be traded for short-term concessions or relief from foreign pressure. This declaration was not merely symbolic, it was a rallying cry for unity and resilience, reminding citizens that their identity and self-respect were non-negotiable, regardless of the challenges they faced. The Prime Minister's words resonated deeply, sparking a wave of support across the island, from the bustling streets of Kingston to the quiet rural communities in the Blue Mountains. Protesters gathered outside Parliament, waving flags and chanting slogans, determined to show the world that Jamaica would stand firm in defense of its values and its people. The second pillar of the government's response was a decisive policy shift: the immediate suspension of all fast-track and diplomatic visa processing for United States officials and business executives. This move was designed to mirror the heightened scrutiny and restrictive measures that Jamaican citizens now faced when seeking entry to the United States. By implementing this policy, the government aimed to highlight the principle of reciprocity in international relations, making it clear that Jamaica would not accept a double standard in the treatment of its people. The suspension sent shockwaves through diplomatic circles, as American officials and business leaders suddenly found themselves subject to the same delays and uncertainties that had plagued Jamaican travelers for months. At Norman Manley International Airport, immigration counters buzzed with activity as officials implemented the new protocols, while in government offices, staff worked around the clock to ensure that the policy was enforced consistently and fairly. The message was unmistakable: Jamaica would not allow its citizens to be singled out or marginalized, and it expected its partners to uphold the same standards of respect and fairness that it extended to them. This pillar of the response was not without its risks, as it threatened to disrupt important economic and diplomatic ties, but the government was resolute in its belief that standing up for the rights and dignity of its people was worth any temporary inconvenience or backlash. As the news spread, many Jamaicans expressed pride in their government's willingness to take a stand, even in the face of powerful opposition. The Prime Minister's leadership during this crisis became a source of inspiration, reinforcing the idea that small nations could assert themselves on the world stage and demand to be treated as equals. Second, the government has made a bold and highly anticipated announcement, a strategic pivot that could reshape Jamaica's place in the world. This move, revealed at a packed press conference attended by top officials and media from across the globe, signals a new era in the nation's foreign policy and economic strategy. The Prime Minister, flanked by key cabinet members, outlined a comprehensive plan designed to diversify Jamaica's international partnerships and reduce its reliance on traditional allies. The atmosphere in the room was electric, with journalists eagerly taking notes and cameras flashing as the details of this ambitious initiative were unveiled. The government's message was clear: Jamaica is ready to chart a new course, one that embraces opportunity, innovation, and resilience in the face of global uncertainty. Central to this strategic pivot is the immediate launch of an urgent government task force. This task force, composed of seasoned diplomats, economic advisors, and representatives from the private sector, has been given a clear mandate to deepen and expand visa-free travel and work agreements with key allies. The focus is on strengthening ties with countries in the Commonwealth, the European Union, and a select group of emerging economic powers. Over the coming months, the task force will engage in high-level negotiations, attend international summits, and work closely with foreign governments to secure new agreements that will open doors for Jamaican citizens and businesses. These efforts are not just about paperwork and policy, they are about creating real opportunities for Jamaicans to travel, work, study, and invest abroad. By forging stronger connections with a diverse range of partners, the government aims to unlock new markets, attract foreign investment, and foster innovation across multiple sectors. The signing of new agreements will be marked by ceremonies attended by diplomats and business leaders, symbolizing a renewed commitment to international cooperation and mutual prosperity. This is a proactive, forward-thinking approach that recognizes the importance of global engagement in today's interconnected world. At the heart of this initiative is a direct and deliberate move to reduce Jamaica's long-standing dependency on the United States market, particularly when it comes to travel and remittances. For decades, the U.S. has been the primary destination for Jamaican travelers, workers, and students, as well as the main source of remittance flows that support families and fuel the local economy. However, recent global shifts and changing immigration policies have highlighted the risks of relying too heavily on a single partner. By expanding access to new destinations and building relationships with a broader array of countries, the government is seeking to create a more resilient and sustainable future for all Jamaicans. This means more options for young people seeking educational opportunities abroad, more pathways for skilled workers to find employment in high-demand sectors, and greater access for entrepreneurs looking to tap into international markets. It also means diversifying the sources of remittances so that families are less vulnerable to economic downturns or policy changes in any one country. The sight of Jamaican passports being stamped in airports around the world, the presence of the national flag outside embassies in distant capitals, and the growth of international business partnerships all point to a nation that is confidently stepping onto the global stage. As these new agreements take effect, Jamaicans can look forward to a future where their horizons are broader, their opportunities are greater, and their connections to the world are stronger than ever before. This strategic pivot is not just a policy change, it is a bold statement of intent. A declaration that Jamaica is ready to embrace the challenges and possibilities of a rapidly changing world. In a move that marked a pivotal moment in the ongoing diplomatic standoff, the Prime Minister of Jamaica stood before a packed press conference, the weight of the nation's concerns evident in his measured tone and resolute posture. After days of mounting tension and speculation, he announced that the Jamaican government had taken the extraordinary step of filing a formal complaint with the Organization of American States, or OAS. This decision, he explained, was not made lightly. It followed extensive consultations with legal experts, foreign policy advisors, and representatives from across the political spectrum, all of whom agreed that the situation had reached a critical juncture. The Prime Minister emphasized that Jamaica's commitment to peaceful dialogue and regional cooperation remained steadfast, but that the actions and rhetoric of certain neighboring states had left the government with no choice but to seek recourse through established international mechanisms. The filing of this complaint, he said, was intended to uphold not only Jamaica's sovereignty, but also the principles of fairness and mutual respect that underpin the inter-American system. Cameras flashed, and reporters jostled for position as the Prime Minister outlined the key grievances at the heart of Jamaica's case, underscoring the gravity of the moment for both the nation and the wider region. Central to the complaint was the argument that the threatened policies and proposed sanctions by the neighboring country amounted to a form of discriminatory and collective punishment against Jamaica, a sovereign nation with a proud history of independence and self-determination. The Prime Minister detailed how these measures, if enacted, would not only harm Jamaica's economy and social fabric, but also set a dangerous precedent for the entire hemisphere. He pointed out that such actions, targeting an entire population for the alleged actions or policies of its government, run counter to the fundamental tenets of international law and the spirit of cooperation that the OAS was founded to protect. The government's legal team, he noted, had compiled extensive documentation and evidence to support Jamaica's position, including expert testimony, economic impact assessments, and records of diplomatic correspondence. In addition, the Prime Minister highlighted the outpouring of support from civil society groups, business leaders, and ordinary citizens, many of whom had taken to the streets in peaceful protest or voiced their concerns at international forums. These demonstrations, he said, reflected a broad consensus within Jamaica that the country must stand firm in defense of its rights and dignity on the world stage. At the heart of Jamaica's appeal to the Organization of American States was a call to reaffirm the core principles of hemispheric partnership, mutual respect, non-intervention, and the peaceful resolution of disputes. The Prime Minister urged fellow member states to recognize that the imposition of collective punishment not only violated Jamaica's rights, but also threatened the integrity of the OAS itself. He called on the organization to convene an emergency session to address the crisis, facilitate dialogue among the parties, and work toward a just and equitable solution. As the formal complaint was submitted, the eyes of the region turned to the OAS, with many leaders and observers expressing hope that the organization would rise to the occasion and demonstrate its continued relevance in safeguarding peace and justice in the Americas. For Jamaica, the filing of the complaint was more than a legal maneuver. It was a statement of principle, a reaffirmation of the nation's place in the community of nations, and a testament to the enduring power of diplomacy in the face of adversity. This is not a reaction of panic, but a calculated and powerful assertion that Jamaica will chart its own course, with or without American cooperation. To understand the global ripple effects of these diplomatic confrontations, you need to stay informed. So, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss our crucial analysis.